The alien recruiter's voice had been a soothing symphony, promising adventure, challenge, a mission to a truly hostile world. You'd signed up, eyes bright with the prospect of proving humanity's worth among the stars. They'd called it Project Eras, a name that tasted like home, like grit and defiance. You remember the sterile, pristine corridors of the transport vessel, the gentle hum of its engines, the way the alien crew moved with an almost ethereal grace, their soft, multi-jointed limbs and large, sensitive eyes. They told you of dangers beyond imagination, of atmospheric pressures that could crush rock, of flora that moved with predatory intent. You'd nodded, listening intently, a small, knowing smile playing on your lips. They had no idea. Then the world screamed, not a human scream, but the tearing metal shriek of the ship's hull, a sound that vibrates through your bones, rattling your teeth. Alarms blared, a discordant symphony of shrill warnings, flashing red lights strobing through the dimness. You were strapped into your seat, the G-forces pressing you back, the world tilting violently. Your stomach lurched, your vision blurring with the sudden chaotic motion. The air filled with the acrid scent of ozone and burning insulation, a smell you knew too well from childhood power surges and overloaded circuit breakers. An alien crewmate, perched on a console nearby, let out a high-pitched cry of alarm, their large eyes wide with pure, unadulterated terror. The ship groaned, a dying beast, metal warping and twisting. And then, just as suddenly, it all stopped. The scream cut out. The alarms died. The violent shaking ceased. There was nothing. Absolute, profound silence. It was deafening. The kind of silence that presses in on your eardrums, making them ache, making you feel utterly alone. You could hear your own heartbeat, a frantic drum against your ribs. The acrid smell still hung heavy, but now, without the cacophony, it seemed to deepen, to seep into your very pores. You unbuckle your harness, the release mechanism clicking with surprising loudness in the void. Your hands are steady. A stark contrast to the trembling alien slumped in the seat next to you, whimpering softly. You push yourself upright, your muscles protesting, a dull throb behind your eyes. The emergency lights are now a sickly green, painting the shattered console panels and dangling wires in an eerie glow. Your boots meet cold, unforgiving deck plating, uneven beneath your weight. A faint sheen of metallic dust coats everything. Report. You hear a voice, yours. A little rougher than usual, but clear. It echoes in the sudden quiet. The alien, a Xylos named Cathar, flinches. They lift their head, their multifaceted eyes blinking slowly. No comms, no power. Full atmospheric breach. Pressure dropping. Their voice trails off, thin and reedy. This is impossible. We were just approaching the atmospheric buffer. You scan the damage. The ship's outer hull has clearly sustained a major impact, a gaping wound visible through the shattered viewport. Beyond it, a swirling mass of angry, rust-colored clouds. This wasn't part of the simulation. This wasn't the controlled danger they'd briefed you on. You feel the slight pressure change in your ears, the telltale sign of a thinning atmosphere. Not enough to kill you immediately, not yet, but enough to know time is a luxury you don't have. Your training kicks in. Not the aliens' sterile, simulated training, but the real kind. The kind you learned scrambling over jagged terrain, the kind that taught you how to make something out of nothing, how to breathe when the world tries to choke you. Your hand instinctively goes to the utility pouch on your suit, feeling the familiar, reassuring bulk of tools, of scavenged parts, of things that were never supposed to be useful on a pristine alien starship. The thin air begins to burn in your lungs, a dry metallic taste blossoming on your tongue. The pressure in your ears is no longer a subtle shift but a dull ache, a constant reminder that the ship is failing faster than Cathar's trembling voice can articulate. Emergency rebreathers. You snap, pushing past the still shaking Xylos, your fingers already tearing at a reinforced locker panel. Your muscles scream in protest as you wrench it open, but you ignore them. You feel the cold metal of the panel, sharp against your palm, and a deep, primal urge to just breathe takes precedence over everything else. Cathar points a multi-jointed limb towards a sealed compartment further down the corridor. storage, secondary life support, minimal integrity after impact. Their voice is a whisper, laced with fear. Minimal is more than zero, you grunt, already pulling out 2 emergency masks. They're clunky, designed for alien physiologies, but you know how to adapt. You shove one at Cathar. Get this on. Now. Filter setting for Class 7 contaminants. Just get it on. You don yours, fumbling with the unfamiliar straps for a second before they click into place. A sudden, blessed rush of filtered air filling your lungs. It tastes sterile, metallic, but it's air. It's life. You grab a heavy-duty cutting tool from the locker, its familiar weight a comfort. We're not waiting for a miracle. We're going out. Cathar's eyes wide behind the mask bulge. Out? Into comfort? Into that? The atmospheric density alone, the thermal fluctuations, the fauna alerts were off the charts during orbital scans. Fauna alerts are just local wildlife, Cathar, you say, already moving towards the gaping hole in the hull, the one that's bleeding the ship's vital atmosphere into the void. We've got local wildlife back home that would eat orbital scan data for breakfast. You reach the breach, the torn metal edges sharp and jagged. Beyond, the rust-colored clouds swirl, a thick, oppressive blanket. It's a maelstrom of raw, untamed energy. The cold bites, even through your suit, a deep chill that sinks into your bones, a stark contrast to the burning in your lungs just moments before. You carefully step over a fallen beam, the wreckage groaning under your weight, and you're at the precipice. The transition is jarring. One moment, the sterile, failing ship. The next, an alien, primordial landscape. The air, though filtered, feels heavy, thick, with unfamiliar particulates. Visibility is almost nil, perhaps a few meters into the churning, rust-colored gloom. The ship's emergency floodlights, somehow still partially functioning, cast long, distorted shadows that twist and writhe like unseen horrors. And then, you hear it. Not the silence of the ship, but a deeper, more ancient silence, punctuated by a myriad of asterisk sounds. Whispers, a faint, low thrumming that vibrates through the ground, up your boots and into your teeth. A high-pitched, almost musical chime, repeating in irregular intervals, echoing from somewhere deep within the swirling mists, and a subtle, wet squelch, like something heavy shifting just beyond your sightline. Your instincts, honed on countless hikes through dense, unpredictable forests back home, scream at you. Unjust movement. Hidden. Listening. Cathar whimpers again, a soft, strangled sound through their comms. The atmospheric pressure is asterisk 8 times standard, human, and the ambient temperature is fluctuating wildly, from -90 to +50 in minutes. This is a Class 9 Deathworld. Uninhabitable. You ignore them, your eyes narrowed, straining against the gloom. Your hand slides to the multi-tool on your hip. A familiar weight, a promise of ingenuity. The air tastes of sulfur and something else, something organic and strangely sweet, like decaying fruit. Each breath, despite the filter, feels like a battle. The air, already thick with sulfur and that strangely sweet, decaying organic scent, twists. A new smell slams into you, metallic and sharp, coppery and primal. Clay blood. Hot. Wet. Fresh. It rips through your rebreather's filter, a raw, undeniable signal to every ancient part of your brain. Your mouth goes dry, even in the humid alien atmosphere. This isn't just a hostile planet. It's a battlefield. The shifting shadow at the edge of your vision solidifies, resolves. It's low to the ground, multi-limbed, moving with a deceptive speed that belies its bulky frame. Covered in what looks like segmented chitin, it flows out of the swirling rust-colored fog. Its head a mass of sensory stalks, twitching. A wet, guttural hiss rips through the heavy air, a sound that vibrates in your chest, telling you, predator. You don't think. You react. Your hand is already on the multi-tool at your hip, not the elegant alien instruments, but your own clunky, hardened piece of human engineering. Your fingers find the grip, the weight familiar, comforting. Your eyes, narrowed behind your visor, track the creature's unnervingly fluid movement. It's not fast like an earth cheetah, but it's asterisk relentless, each limb churning over the glowing violet moss. "Human, what is that thing?" Cathar's voice is a high-pitched shriek over your comms, full of pure, unadulterated panic. They're still huddled by the ship's breach, paralyzed. "Less talk, more cover," you bark back, your own voice calm despite the adrenaline surging through your veins. You're scanning the immediate environment, the shattered ship plating, the jagged rock formations jutting from the mossy ground. No easy escape, no heavy weaponry. Just you, your tool, and whatever grit you brought from a world that makes things like this look like a Tuesday afternoon picnic. The creature lunges faster than you expected, a blur of chitin and snapping stalks. Its front limbs end in razor-sharp talons, tipped with what looks like venomous barbs. It's aiming for your chest, for the soft, vulnerable points. Your instincts scream dodge, but there's no room for fancy footwork. Instead, you drop low, a half-crouch, rolling your shoulder into the impact. The chitinous body slams into you, a bone-jarring blow that sends a jolt of pain up your arm. You grunt, the air forced from your lungs, the metallic taste of blood suddenly your own. But you don't fall. You use the momentum, pivoting, swinging the heavy multi-tool like a hammer. It connects with a sickening term C-rack against one of the creature's armored segments. The alien predator lets out another hiss, sharper this time, a sound of pain. It stumbles back, momentarily disoriented, its sensory stalks flailing wildly. A thin, greenish ichor oozes from the cracked chitin. You press the advantage. No fancy moves, just raw human brutality. You kick out, aiming for its most vulnerable point. The cluster of sensory stalks. Your boot connects with a wet thud, sending a shockwave up your leg. Two of the stalks snap, spraying more of the greenish fluid. The creature recoils fully now, its guttural hiss escalating into a shriek of rage and something that sounds like surprise. It's surprised. Good. It's exoskeleton. It cracked. Cathar gasps, their voice barely a whisper. How? It's rated to withstand atmospheric entry. You don't reply. You're already moving again, not waiting for the creature to recover. It clearly isn't used to its prey fighting back, especially not with such rudeness. You've got a short window. You see a jagged piece of ship plating, twisted into a crude spike, stuck in the ground nearby. Not ideal, but perfect. You grab the spike, wrenching it free with a grunt of effort, your muscles screaming. The creature is still recoiling, but its other stalks are beginning to refocus, its remaining talons twitching. It's learning. It's adapting. But so are you. And you've had millions of years of practice. The jagged metal spike feels heavy and familiar in your gloved hands. A crude extension of your will. The creature, sensing your renewed aggression, lets out a harsh, chittering growl. It's no longer just surprised. It's angry. Its remaining sensory stalks whip frantically, trying to get a lock on your movements in the churning fog. You feel the tremor in the ground as it coils, preparing for another charge, its talons scraping against the glowing moss. This is it. The raw, messy dance. No fancy tech, no shields, no energy weapons. Just you, a piece of scavenged wreckage, and the primal urge to survive. The burning in your lungs is a steady companion now, a low thrumming reminder of the brutal atmosphere. The ache in your arm from the creature's first impact flares, but you barely notice. Adrenaline is a powerful anesthetic. You don't wait. You move first. A feint to the left, a quick, jerky motion, drawing its attention. Then, a sudden, powerful lunge to the right, closing the distance before it can react. Your visor fogs for a second, a fleeting distraction, but your focus is absolute. You can practically feel its attention shift, its remaining stalks attempting to reacquire you. The creature's head snaps toward you, a desperate, reflexive defense. Its maw, previously hidden, opens, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth that glint wickedly in the emergency lights filtering through the fog. A viscous, yellowish drool drips from its fangs. It's aiming to bite, to tear. But you're closer. Much closer. With a roar that's more guttural animal than human, you drive the jagged spike forward. Not a stab, but a brutal downward thrust. Leveraging your weight, your momentum, your sheer desperation. The metal point catches between two armored plates on its head, right where the sensory stalks converge. You feel the give, a horrible tearing sound of chitin and sinew. The creature convulses, a shuddering spasm that shakes its entire bulky frame. A high-pitched, piercing shriek erupts from its maw, a sound of agony and pure, undiluted rage. It lashes out blindly with its talons, catching your armored shoulder. The impact is staggering, knocking you back, but the spike holds fast. You hold on, gritting your teeth, pushing deeper, feeling the sickening shoulder crunch, as the improvised weapon penetrates further into its soft, vulnerable core. Warm, alien blood, thick and greenish-black, spurts from the wound, splattering your visor. It stings, an acrid chemical burn on the glass, momentarily obscuring your vision even more. The creature thrashes, a dying dance, its talons tearing at the ground, at the air, at anything it can touch. Its legs kick, sending clumps of glowing moss flying. You hold firm, your muscles locked, pouring every ounce of your strength into the kill. Then, with a final, shuddering gasp, the thrashing stops. The piercing shriek dies down to a gurgling wheeze. The weight on the spike lessens. The creature slumps, its multi-limbed body collapsing onto the slick, mossy ground. Its sensory stalks go limp, twitching no more. The silence that follows is thick, heavy, broken only by your ragged breathing, loud in your comms, and the distant, mournful howl of the wind. You pull the spike free, the sucking sound of it leaving the wound sickening. The weapon is slick with alien blood, glowing faintly in the dim light. You drop it, the metallic clang echoing eerily. Your chest heaves. Your arm throbs, a deep, bruising pain blossoming from the impact. You wipe your visor with a gloved hand, smearing the alien ichor, but clearing your vision enough to see the inert form of the predator. Cathar scrambles over, their voice shaking. You killed it. With a piece of debris. There's awe and a profound, dawning fear in their tone. That creature, it's an apex predator human, unmatched on this world. You look at the fallen beast, then back at Cathar, your breath still catching. The metallic taste of alien blood still lingers on your tongue, even through the filter of your rebreather. But now it's overshadowed by an entirely new sensation. The brutal, gut-wrenching cold. It slams into you, not like a gentle chill, but like a physical blow, sucking the residual heat from your bones. Your bruised arm, still throbbing from the creature's impact, suddenly feels like a block of ice, stiff and unresponsive. The air, which moments ago was merely thick and acrid, now feels like shards of glass in your lungs, each filtered breath a painful struggle. You glance at the fallen apex predator, its greenish-black blood rapidly freezing on its chitinous hide, turning into brittle, glittering crystals. The glowing violet moss beneath your boots is stiffening, losing its bioluminescence, patches of it crackling with a faint crystalline rime. The swirling, rust-colored fog around you isn't just fog anymore. It's a stinging, biting blizzard, each particulate a miniature ice shard scraping at your visor. Human! The thermal regulators on my suit are failing. Cathar's voice crackles over the comms, a new note of sheer terror in their tone. The atmospheric temperature has dropped by over 100 degrees Kelvin in less than a cycle. This is an environmental shift beyond all parameters. My core temperature is plummeting. You feel it too. The sophisticated thermal layers of your own suit are struggling, their internal humming now a strained whine. Your fingers, though still functional, are growing numb inside your gloves, the fine motor control beginning to slip. You can feel the cold seeping through the reinforced soles of your boots, chilling your toes. This isn't just cold. This is the kind of cold that kills quietly, efficiently, by turning your blood to sludge and your muscles to stone. Stay calm, Cathar. You grunt, your voice tight, the words tasting like frost. You're already moving, scanning. No time to mourn the dead beast. No time to savor the victory. The planet is adapting, throwing a new, more insidious challenge at you. What's your suit's critical minimum survival temperature? Minus 83 Kelvin. We are at minus 110 human. My internal organs are beginning to crystallize. Their voice breaks, a high-pitched whimper. You barely register their panic. Your eyes dart around, searching. The broken ship. The alien wilderness. Dawn with shelter. That's the priority. You remember the briefing. Extreme thermal fluctuations. They'd warned you. But 100 degrees Kelvin in minutes? That's not a fluctuation. That's a weapon. You spot a small overhang formed by a twisted piece of the ship's hull pushed into a rocky outcrop. Not much, but it might break the wind, offer a tiny pocket of relative calm. Every step is an effort now, your joints protesting, your muscles screaming as the cold digs deeper. You feel your breath fogging inside your helmet, a cloud of vapor with every exhale. We need heat, you say, more to yourself than Cathar. You pull out your multi-tool again, no longer for a fight, but for a desperate attempt at survival. Your fingers are clumsy, fumbling with the controls, but years of muscle memory kick in. You need to strip wires, find a power source, nozzle anything that can generate even a spark of warmth. The wind howls louder now, a frigid, predatory sound that seems to mock your efforts. Small pieces of frozen debris whipped up by the gale ping against your visor. You shiver, a deep, uncontrollable tremor that shakes your entire body. This isn't a predator you can fight with a spike. This is the planet itself, breathing icy death, trying to extinguish you. Cathar struggles to follow, their movements sluggish, clearly succumbing to the cold. I cannot feel my extremities, human. This is impossible. No life can endure this. How are you still moving? You look back at them, a grim smile freezing on your lips. Because we're from Earth. Cathar, the gnawing emptiness in your gut has become a constant companion, a hollow ache that resonates with every thump of your strained heart. The makeshift heat exchanger, jury-rigged from salvaged ship parts and a dangerously overloaded power conduit, sputters weakly, casting a meager, flickering warmth in the confined space under the hull overhang. It's enough to keep the absolute, bone-crushing cold from instantly freezing you solid, but it's a losing battle. The brutal, alien frost still creeps in, numbing your toes, stiffening your fingers, a persistent, insidious enemy that whispers promises of slow, quiet death. Your last nutrient paste tube was gone cycles ago, a sad, tasteless memory. Cathar, huddled beside you, their multifaceted eyes dull with hypothermia and starvation, has been mostly unresponsive for what feels like an eternity. Their alien physiology is shutting down, unable to cope with the prolonged deprivation and the relentless, oscillating temperatures that even your own adapted body struggles to endure. You can hear their shallow, reedy breaths through your comms, each one a testament to their weakening life force. Any signs of the recovery beacon? Cathar rasps, their voice barely a whisper, a desperate flicker of hope in the vast, indifferent darkness. You shake your head, the motion stiff, deliberate. Nothing. This planet blocks long-range comms. Probably why they thought it was such a challenge. The irony isn't lost on you. They sent you here to explore a hostile world, completely oblivious to the fact that you grew up on one that cultivated starvation as an art form during bad harvests, where surviving a winter storm was a badge of honor. Your stomach clenches again, a painful spasm. It's not just hunger anymore. It's a deep, primal drive that clouds your thoughts, sharpens your senses, and makes every faint smell, every rustle, a potential source of sustenance. Your eyes scan the frozen landscape beyond your meager shelter. The glowing violet moss is now mostly a brittle, colorless crust under the shifting, rust-colored snow. The air still tastes of sulfur and that sickly sweet, decaying organic scent. But now your nose is trying to discern score-edible Denevis from toxic. Food, you murmur, the word tasting like ash. You need to move. You need to find something. Anything. Cathar manages a weak cough. There is nothing, The orbital scans showed no viable flora. All indigenous fauna are predatory, and their biochemistry is incompatible. You push yourself up, your muscles screaming in protest, stiff and cold. The weakness in your limbs is profound, making each step a conscious effort. But the fire of survival, of that stubborn human refusal to just 20 down and die, burns hotter than the cold in your veins. Incompatible? Humans have eaten worse. Humans have survived worse. You venture out, leaving the relative safety of the flickering heat, stepping onto the crunching frozen ground. The wind immediately bites, making your eyes water, blurring your vision through the already smeared visor. Your multi-tool, usually a collection of useful instruments, feels like a toy, useless against this enemy. Your gaze falls on the frozen carcass of the apex predator you brought down cycles ago. It's a grotesque monument to your earlier victory, half buried in the accumulating snow. Cathar called it incompatible, toxic. But its internal organs, wrapped in chitin, might have a different story. Desperation, after all, is the ultimate chef. You approach the carcass, your mind racing, already planning. You remember the old survival stories from Earth? The extreme lengths people went to. Boiling, leaching, grinding, filtering out the toxins, finding the kernel of energy. Your grandfather once told you stories of eating lichen and grubs just to make it through a famine. This is different, alien, but the principle is the same. The grinding of metal on rock scrapes against your eardrums, a harsh, grating protest that vibrates up your arms and into your teeth. Your muscles burn, a deep, aching fire that radiates from your shoulders to your numb fingertips. Sweat, cold and clammy, trickles down your back, beneath the layers of your suit, making the fabric cling uncomfortably. You taste salt, the metallic tang of your own effort, mingled with the faint sulfuric scent of the alien soil you're trying to shape. Each swing of the improvised pickaxe, a jagged piece of ship hull reinforced with scavenged conduits, sends a jolt of pain through your battered shoulder, but you ignore it. You have to ignore it. The wind howls outside your meager overhang, a constant, mournful wail that feels like the planet itself is laughing at your pathetic efforts. But you're not laughing. You're building. Piece by agonizing piece, you're prying frozen chunks of alien rock and twisted metal from the ground, stacking them into a crude, low wall to bolster your collapsing shelter. The goal is simple: survive the next thermal fluctuation. The current one, the deep, bone-chilling cold, is slowly eating away at your life support, even with your jury-rigged heater flickering bravely. Cathar, still shivering despite the minimal warmth, watches you with wide, weary eyes. Human, your energy reserves are critically low. You should conserve. This structure is temporary. It will not withstand the next storm cycle. We should prioritize beacon transmission, not construction. Their voice is weak, but the concern is genuine, if a little bewildered. You grunt, driving the pickaxe into a particularly stubborn slab of rock. The impact sends a shower of frozen dust and brittle, crystal-laced soil flying. Beacon transmission needs power, Cathar. Power needs a stable environment. A stable environment starts with a roof over our heads that isn't trying to implode. Your breath hitches with effort, a cloud of vapor forming inside your visor. The ground beneath your feet is a mix of frozen dirt, pulverized rock, and strange, iridescent mineral deposits that sparkle faintly even in the dim emergency lighting. It's hard, unyielding, but you've worked harder ground back on Earth. You remember the blisters, the aching back, the satisfaction of turning raw land into something productive. This isn't farming, not exactly, but the impulse is the same. Exert control. Make your mark. Force the world to bend, even a little. Your fingers are stiff, growing numb again despite the constant movement. You have to clench and unclench them between swings to keep the blood flowing. The cold is a persistent, insidious enemy, always there, always trying to reclaim the warmth you're fighting so hard to generate. The sweat on your brow turns icy, making you shiver uncontrollably, but you keep moving. One more rock. One more beam. Just one more. A loud L'Arbacière echoes through the air, as a large slab of rock finally gives way. You stumble back, nearly losing your footing, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm in your chest. The liberated stone is heavy, sharp-edged, but it's exactly what you need. You hoist it, grunting with effort, dragging it towards the growing wall. This is illogical, human, Cathar mutters, pulling their cloak tighter. The energy expended, the risk of injury, for a temporary improvement. Our species would conserve, wait for rescue, not challenge the elements with such ferocity. You pause, leaning against the cold, jagged rock, catching your breath. Your lungs ache, but a grim satisfaction begins to spread through you. You wipe your visor again, smearing away the sweat. You look at the struggling, dying alien, then at the half-finished wall, and then out into the swirling, frozen chaos of the Deathworld. That's the difference, Cathar, you say, your voice raw but firm. Back home, we learned that sometimes rescue never comes. The smell hits you first. Not the sulfurous tang of the alien atmosphere, nor the metallic scent of your own exhaustion, but something far more insidious, more disheartening. A sickening, cloying sweetness. Like overripe fruit turning to mush, layered with an acrid chemical burn that stings your nostrils even through your rebreather's filter. It's the smell of Asterix grot, unmistakable and profound, a scent that speaks of decay and wasted effort. Your stomach, already a hollow cavern of hunger, clenches, not with anticipation, but with a visceral wave of nausea. You stare at the crude container you'd fashioned from a salvaged thermal flask, where you'd carefully stored the processed, leached meat from the apex predator. Hours of painstaking work, boiling and filtering, convinced you'd found a way to render the alien protein edible, a glimmer of hope against the gnawing hunger. Now that hope curdles. The greenish-black chunks you'd prepared are no longer merely unappetizing. They're covered in a fine, pulsating blue mold, spiderwebbing across the surface, emitting that terrible stench. The promised grain has turned to poison. Your hand, stiff with cold, involuntarily jerks back. A sigh escapes your lips, a raw, frustrated sound that echoes loud in the confined space of your makeshift shelter. This isn't just a setback. It's a cruel joke from a planet that clearly delights in torment. The immediate sensation is one of profound, crushing disappointment, heavier than any rock you've hauled. Cathar, huddled deeper in their tattered thermal cloak, shifts, their multifaceted eyes fixed on the spoiled food. The enzymatic process failed, human? Their voice is thin, laced with a fresh wave of despair. Our biosensors indicated a high probability of cellular breakdown without a stable atmospheric catalyst. It was too risky. They were right. You knew it, but you'd needed to try. The desperation had overridden caution. A bitter taste floods your mouth, sharper than any chemical burn, the taste of failure. You'd poured your dwindling energy into this, risked further exposure to the elements, all for a solution that now mocked you. Your muscles, already screaming from the constant effort of building the shelter, feel heavier, the cold seeping deeper into your bones, now that the adrenaline of hopeful progress has vanished. The thought of renewed hunger, sharper, more insistent, makes you clench your jaw. You toss the ruined food outside the shelter, a pathetic splat against the frozen ground. The waste of it, the precious energy expended, stings. But there's no time for self-pity. Back on Earth, famine wasn't a philosophical concept. It was a brutal reality. People died. But people also found a way. They ate what shouldn't be eaten, they scrounged, they adapted, they went on. You feel the renewed emptiness in your stomach, a deep, painful gnawing. But you also feel a familiar, stubborn spark reignite. It's the spark that says, okay, plan A failed. What's plan B? No time for, I told you so, Cathar, you say, your voice gruff, forcing warmth into it. You pull out your multi-tool again, flipping it to a different setting. A small, focused sensor array extends. We need to reassess. There's something else here. There can raf to be. Your eyes scan the swirling, rust-colored snow beyond your shelter, straining to see beyond the immediate oppressive cold and the renewed pangs of hunger. Cathar had said the orbital scans showed no viable flora, only predatory fauna. But orbital scans couldn't tell you everything. They couldn't tell you about the tiny, bioluminescent fungi that sometimes grew in the coldest crevices, or the way certain alien mosses might be rendered edible if processed just right, or the specific mineral deposits that might have caloric value. Your ancestors didn't have orbital scans when they were starving in frozen wastes. The harsh, grating rasp of the cutting beam against rigid crystalline material grinds against your eardrums, a high-pitched whine that vibrates up the multi-tool and into the very bones of your hand. It's a sound of raw friction, of something unwilling being forced apart. Your fingers, stiff and aching from the cold and the constant effort, clench around the tool's grip, numb and unresponsive. Each micro-vibration sends a dull ache through your wrist, but you push through it, sweat beading on your forehead inside your visor, instantly turning to ice-cold rivulets that prickle your skin. You're hunched over the frozen carcass of the apex predator, the one you'd brought down days ago. Its chitinous hide, previously deemed inedible and then later toxic, is now a puzzle. The previous attempt to process its flesh had failed spectacularly, leaving you with nothing but spoiled, foul-smelling mush and a fresh wave of despair. But despair is a luxury you can't afford. Cathar, curled into a tight ball in the corner of the makeshift shelter, is barely conscious, their shallow breaths growing fainter with each passing cycle. You can't let them die. You can't let you die. This time, you're not after the meat, you're after the tight bones. The orbital scans had indicated complex biomineral structures within the fauna, hinting at dense, nutrient-rich marrow. It's a gamble, a desperate, gut-wrenching long shot, but your ancestors ate bone marrow when nothing else was left. And you are your ancestors, descendant. The cutting beam, barely functioning at this low power, struggles to penetrate the alien bone. It sparks, hisses, and protests, but you keep it steady, tracing the line you'd painstakingly marked. The air around you fills with a fine, iridescent dust, smelling faintly of ozone and something else, something oddly sterile and chalky, almost like damp earth. Your stomach clenches again, not from hunger this time, but from the grim, almost ritualistic nature of what you're doing. Human, what are you attempting? Cathar's voice, a dry rasp over the comms, startles you. Their multifaceted eyes, barely slits, are fixed on your gruesome task. The skeletal structure is for calcification and structural integrity. There is no nutrient density. You ignore them, focusing. The beam finally bites deeper, a faint cracking sound preceding a softer, more yielding resistance. You feel it. A subtle change in the vibration of the tool, a sudden, thrilling promise. Wands give. With a grunt, you lever the tool, and a section of bone finally separates with a wet snap. Inside, revealed by the dim light of your failing headlamp, is a central cavity filled with a strange, gelatinous substance. It's a dull, milky white, threaded with faint, luminous violet veins that pulsate with an almost imperceptible rhythm. It doesn't smell like rot. It doesn't smell like sulfur. It smells almost benign, like nothing you've ever encountered, but undeniably organic. A wave of intense relief washes over you, quickly followed by a surge of primal, almost savage determination. This is it. This is the last chance. Your heart pounds, not with fear, but with a fierce, burning hope. You carefully extract a small portion, examining it with your multi-tool scanner. The results flicker on your visor. Unknown composition, but a high-density energy reading. Potentially edible. Potentially fatal. You look at Compter. Their shivering form a stark reminder of your shared mortality. They watch you, their eyes reflecting a flicker of that same desperate hope. You know the risks. You know this could be the end. But the sheer audacity of this alien world, its relentless assault, has honed something in you, something that refuses to surrender. Nutrient density or not, Cathar, you say, your voice hoarse but steady. We're from Earth, and sometimes you just have to eat the unknown. Or die trying. The rasp of the sawn bone isn't just a sound of struggle. The gelatinous marrow, milky white with its faint pulsating violet veins, feels unnervingly soft against your gloved fingertip. Your multi-tool scanner, flickering faintly, still shows Unknown composition, high energy density, possible toxins. It's a binary choice. Consume the unknown or watch Cathar and yourself slowly fade into the frigid oblivion. Your stomach growls, a hollow guttural protest that vibrates through your chest. The raw, desperate hunger overrides every instinct for caution. You carefully lift your visor, the biting cold instantly stinging your exposed skin. The air, thick with the smell of ozone and the sterile, chalky scent of alien bone dust, assaults your nostrils. With a deep, shuddering breath, you press the smallest fragment of the marrow to your tongue. It's bland. Utterly, surprisingly bland. A little earthy, perhaps, with a faint, metallic aftertaste, but no immediate burn, no searing pain, no sudden collapse. Just a subtle warmth, a deep, slow heat that begins to spread from your mouth, down your throat, and into the cavern of your empty stomach. It's not immediate energy, not a miracle cure, but it's asterisk something. It's a flicker of life, a defiance of the hunger. You wait, tense, for the delayed onset of alien toxins, for the internal seizure, for the inevitable punishment of consuming the unknown. But nothing happens. Just the slow, steady warmth. Cathar! You rasp, your voice hoarse, but a new, fierce determination ringing in it. It's not poison, at least not immediately. Cathar stirs faintly, a soft, dry cough escaping their rebreather. Their multifaceted eyes are barely open, dull with hypothermia and a metabolism threatening to grind to a halt. Human, you consumed it? Their voice is a breathy whisper, laced with disbelief and a profound, exhausted resignation. You grab a larger portion of the marrow, warming it as best you can in your palm, using the residual heat from your suit's failing core. This is where the asterisk real gamble begins. Administering this to a species with a vastly different biology, in their weakened state, could be suicide, but waiting is guaranteed death. As you prepare, your eyes fall on the discarded pile of spoiled, moldy meat you'd tossed outside the shelter hours ago. The blue mold, previously a symbol of crushing failure, now seems to shimmer with an almost ethereal glow in the dim light. A memory flashes, old Earth stories, of blue molds that saved lives, of penicillin, of finding medicine in unexpected, even repulsive places. The very thing that ruined your last hope. What if it held another? Your brain, sharpened by desperation, works furiously. The mold signaled rapid cellular breakdown and extreme enzymatic activity. What if, instead of destroying, it could aid absorption, break down the complex alien proteins of the marrow into something Cathar's body could more easily process? It's a long shot. A wild, desperate, human shot. Cathar, I need you to stay with me, you say, your voice firm, trying to cut through their haze. You scrape a small amount of the blue mold from the discarded meat, mixing it with the warmed marrow in a small, improvised cup, made from another piece of salvaged hull. The combination is repulsive, a foul-smelling, glowing paste, a true poultice of desperation. You gently cradle Cathar's head, their skin cold and clammy through their rebreather. Carefully you adjust their mask, exposing their mouth, then gently, slowly you begin to administer the strange concoction, a spoonful at a time. They resist weakly at first, a faint whimper, but you persist, coaxing, urging. Just a little, Cathar. Just a little. You need to fight. This isn't over. The process is agonizingly slow, each swallow a Herculean effort for the weakened alien. You watch, heart-pounding, for any sign of negative reaction. Convulsions, foaming, anything. A sharp, metallic tang, distinct from the sulfur and old blood, suddenly coats the inside of your mouth. It's subtle, almost imperceptible at first, like the static charge before a storm. Then comes the prickle, a faint, irritating itch at the back of your throat, creeping up into your sinuses, making your eyes water behind your visor. Your head begins to throb, a dull, insistent ache building behind your eyes, and a strange, dizzying disorientation washes over you. You grip the edge of the improvised shelter, steadying yourself, a knot forming in your gut. This isn't cold. This isn't hunger. This is something else entirely, something in the air. Cathar, still weak but visibly recovering, suddenly lets out a sharp, choked gasp. Their multifaceted eyes widen in alarm, and they begin to cough. A dry, racking sound that tears through their rebreathers' comms. My internal atmospheric sensors are spiking, human. Unidentified particulates, microscopic irritants affecting respiratory membranes. Their voices ragged, laced with a fresh wave of panic. This is a bioaerosol event, a localized atmospheric contaminant. You feel it now, the tingling becoming a burning, the headache intensifying into a sledgehammer behind your eyes. Your lungs ache with each breath, even through the filter, feeling heavy, sluggish. Your muscles, already weary, feel a strange leaden fatigue settling over them. This planet, it never stops. It keeps finding new, insidious ways to kill you. Filters holding, you demand, struggling to keep your voice steady as you pull out your multi-tool, frantically switching it to environmental analysis mode. The screen flickers, then blazes with a horrifying array of red warnings. Unknown organic compounds, spore counts off the charts, airborne neurotoxins. This isn't just a bioaerosol, it's a goddamn airborne plague. Degrading, rapidly. Cathar chokes, their coughing worsening. The density is overwhelming the filtration system. We cannot breathe this. You rip a spare filter cartridge from your utility belt, your fingers fumbling with the clips, already half numb. This planet's atmosphere is a constant, suffocating weapon, and your gear, designed for galactic standard Deathworlds, isn't enough. You quickly swap out your own filter, feeling a brief, momentary relief as the burning in your throat recedes slightly. But it's just a temporary reprieve. Your mind races. On Earth, you deal with this with sealed habitats, hazmat suits, advanced air purifiers. Here, you have a few spare filters, a multi-tool, and a collapsing shelter. And Cathar, who is clearly not built for this kind of biological warfare, you look around the crude shelter, the rocks, the twisted metal, not airtight, not even close. The contaminant is seeping in, subtly, relentlessly. You spot the shimmering, violet moss you'd previously dismissed as inert ground cover. Now a faint, almost invisible plume of vapor seems to be rising from it, particularly where it meets the melting snow. Bioluminescent fungi, you realize, recalling your multi-tool's earlier scans. Not just a food source, but a potential enemy, invisible until now. Cathar, get as close to the heat exchanger as you can. You bark, pointing to your sputtering device. Heat. Maybe heat could denature the spores, or at least slow their spread. You start tearing down a section of your rock wall, despite the crushing fatigue, ignoring the pain in your shoulder, desperately trying to find something, anything, that could be more airtight. But that increases the risk of thermal shock if it fails, Cathar protests, their voice weak. It also gives us 5 more minutes of breathable air, you snap back, already prying loose a large, flat piece of ship plating. You try to seal a gap in the shelter's wall, pressing the cold metal against the rock, feeling the unseen particles prickle your exposed skin as you lean in. The burning in your lungs is no longer a prickle. It's a searing fire, a deep, persistent agony with every forced inhale. Each breath, even through the now failing filter, feels like inhaling razor wire, coating your throat with a raw metallic tang that speaks of damaged tissue and systemic poisoning. The throbbing behind your eyes has intensified into a blinding migraine, and the dizziness is a constant, nauseating swirl that threatens to pull you under. You lean heavily against the cold, unyielding rock of your improvised shelter, your muscles trembling, your grip on reality tenuous. This isn't just a bioaerosol. It's a slow, agonizing suffocation from within. Cathar's shallow, rattling breaths over the comms have grown alarmingly irregular. Their multifaceted eyes, when you glance over, are glazed, unfocused, and their frail body is racked with uncontrollable tremors. They're fading. Rapidly. Their alien physiology, optimized for pristine, controlled environments, is simply collapsing under the relentless, invisible assault. The fear radiating from them, even through the fog of your own pain, is palpable. A lonely echo of their species, terror of the unseen. Human, I cannot sustain. Cathar chokes, their voice a mere whisper, punctuated by a wet, hacking cough that sounds like their internal organs are tearing. The particulates are everywhere. I feel my cells breaking down. A fresh surge of adrenaline, fueled by desperation, cuts through your pain. Not yet. You won't let them die. You won't let you die. You rip off your own rebreather. The immediate contact with the contaminated air, an excruciating assault on your raw throat. But you need to think, to improvise, without the muffled distortion. Your eyes sting, tears blurring your vision as you reach for your multi-tool. The readings are still horrific, the air saturated with the airborne neurotoxins and spores. You remember something from an old Earth documentary, something about a field surgeon improvising during a bioweapon attack with household materials. Crude, dangerous, but sometimes, crude and dangerous is all you have. Your gaze falls on the heat exchanger, still sputtering, generating a meager but vital warmth. And then, at the pile of discarded moldy alien meat, the blue fungus still pulsating faintly. At a mold. The stuff that failed as food, but provided an enzymatic catalyst for the marrow. What if it could do something else? What if its rapid cellular breakdown properties could somehow be harnessed? Or its spores, if cultivated correctly, could somehow neutralize the airborne threat, or at least compete with it? It's a desperate, unscientific leap. But this isn't a lab. This is a death world. Cathar, listen to me, you say, your voice raw, but sharp with urgency. You gesture wildly at the heat exchanger. Is there any component in the ship's primary ventilation system that could filter, biologically? Anything that could be repurposed? Even a fan, a filter screen, anything we can bake to sterilize? Their head lolls, but a flicker of understanding, or perhaps just obedience, crosses their eyes. The auxiliary environmental scrubbers in Cargo Bay 3 contain biocatalytic membranes for atmospheric processing. Bingo. Cargo Bay 3. You remember it. Barely. It's further into the wreck, likely even more compromised by the cold and the collapse. But it's a direction. It's a chance. You replace your rebreather, gasping for the filtered air, the metallic burn still intense, but marginally less suffocating. You grab a piece of scavenged conduit, activating a low-power cutting beam. You're going to carve through whatever stands between you and that cargo bay. Each breath is a reminder of the ticking clock, the unseen enemy relentlessly eating away at your remaining time. The world outside, the swirling, rust-colored fog, seems to press in, thick with the lonely echo of the plague bell. Each cough from Cathar a somber toll. The metallic tang in your mouth has become a sandpaper dryness, a constant irritating scratch that scrapes at your throat with every shallow breath. Your lips, already cracked and bleeding from the brutal cold, feel stiff and pulling, as if shrinking on your face. The headache, a dull throb before, now pulses behind your eyes with the rhythm of a frantic drum, making every movement a dizzying effort. It's a systemic, all-consuming thirst, worse than any hunger, a desperate primal scream from every cell in your body for two-men water. Your jury-rigged air scrubber, cobbled together from the auxiliary environmental membranes and the heat exchanger, sputters valiantly in the corner of your reinforced shelter. It fights a losing battle against the insidious bioaerosol, keeping the air just breathable enough to prevent outright suffocation, but the burning in your lungs, now compounded by dehydration, is a constant, agonizing companion. Each inhale feels like drawing liquid fire into your chest. Cathar, recovering slowly from the bioaerosol poisoning thanks to the improvised scrubber and the alien marrow, is still weak, their multifaceted eyes dull with exhaustion. Their breathing is less ragged, but their movements are sluggish, their thirst evident in their constant, almost involuntary swallowing. The water reserves are depleted. They rasp, their voice raspy, dry. My internal hydrometers are failing. We cannot continue without fluid intake. You know, you feel it in your bones, in the buzzing behind your ears, in the way your vision occasionally blurs. You've scavenged every drop of condensation, melted every ice shard you could find, but the supply is gone. The cold, while less intense inside your shelter, still permeates everything, making the thought of consuming frigid, untreated alien water a painful one. But the choice isn't between comfort and discomfort. It's between survival and utter collapse. You grip your multi-tool, its familiar weight a meager comfort. Outside, the swirling rust-colored blizzard rages, the wind a mournful shriek, but a desperate animal instinct drives you. You need water, now. You push open the temporary access hatch you'd fashioned, stepping out into the biting gale. The cold immediately slams into you, piercing through your suit's weakened thermal layers. Your eyes scan the swirling gloom, straining against the icy particulates that sting your visor. The glowing violet moss is mostly buried now, but you remember an area, further from the ship, where the ground dipped, where meltwater might collect. You stumble forward, each step an act of pure, stubborn will, your legs heavy, your throat burning. The distant, faint glimmer of the emergency lights from the wreck is your only guide in this chaotic, freezing hell. And then you see it. Not a still pool, not a frozen lake, but a flowing channel, cutting through the icy landscape. A Tama River. It snakes through a fissure in the rock, its surface not clear or shimmering, but a viscous, opalescent green, like liquid jade, moving with an unsettlingly slow, almost deliberate current. Tendrils of a similar green, bioluminescent algae seem to writhe within it, giving it a faint, internal glow that pulses with an unnerving, organic rhythm. The living river. You drop to one knee, the alien soil crunching under your boots. A fresh wave of dizziness washing over you. The river emanates a faint, earthy odor, mingled with a strange, sweet scent, like decaying flora, but no immediate caustic or toxic smell. Your multi-tool scanner, already struggling, flickers over the opalescent liquid. The readings are baffling. Complex organic compounds, high mineral content, unusual viscosity, and, of course, the ever-present warning, potential unknown biocontaminants. Cathar, who has bravely followed, lets out a soft, nervous chirrup over the comms. Human. It is highly unrecommended. The filtered liquid, caught in a salvaged thermal mug, looks less viscous now, but still holds a faint, unsettling opalescent green hue. It doesn't smell like water. It has a mild, earthy aroma, but beneath it, a sharp, almost chemical tang, like diluted battery acid mixed with damp soil. Your multi-tool, already pushed past its limits, flickers a desperate warning. Unknown molecular structure, high probability of systemic incompatibility, but your body screams louder, a profound, agonizing thirst that drowns out every alarm. Your throat feels like it's lined with sandpaper, your tongue a swollen, inert lump in your mouth. You lift the mug, your hand trembling, not from fear, but from the bone-deep exhaustion and dehydration that makes your muscles protest every command. Cathar, huddled next to you, watches with wide, multifaceted eyes, their earlier warnings replaced by a desperate, silent plea. They are too weak to even offer another word of caution. It's on you. All of it. With a deep, shuddering breath that burns in your raw lungs, you tilt the mug. A single, cool drop of the alien liquid touches your parched lips. It's unexpectedly slick, almost oily, clinging to your skin. The taste hits you immediately. Bitter, intensely mineral, with an unexpected hint of something vaguely metallic, almost like old copper. It's repugnant, but your body, starved for hydration, craves the sensation, the sheer wetness of it. You take a small sip. Just a sip. The liquid slides down your throat, coating your raw tissues, and for a fleeting second, it's pure, blessed relief. Then, the burning starts. Not like fire, but a deep internal heat, spreading from your stomach outwards, radiating through your chest and limbs. Your muscles spasm, a sharp, sudden cramp in your gut. Your vision swims. The edges of your perception blurring, and the metallic taste in your mouth intensifies, becoming truly coppery, the taste of Asterix's blood. Is this it? Is this the end? Liquid death? You drop the mug, the remaining green fluid splattering onto the frozen ground with a sickly wet thud. Your body convulses, a violent tremor that shakes your entire frame. Your head pounds, a relentless drumbeat in your ears, and a wave of nausea washes over you, threatening to overwhelm you completely. You fall to your knees, gasping, struggling to breathe. The pain, a cold, sharp blade twisting in your stomach. Cathar lets out a distressed chirrup, struggling to reach you. Human, are you collapsing? Is it toxins? Their voice is tight with fear, their frail hand reaching out, hovering uncertainly. You shake your head, forcing the word out, a raw, guttural grunt. No, no, not poison. You grit your teeth, riding the wave of internal upheaval. Your body is fighting it, fighting the alien compounds, trying to process the unknown. It's a battle, a war being waged in your blood, in your cells. But it's not outright rejection. It's adaptation. Slowly, agonizingly, the burning begins to subside. The tremors lessen. The nausea recedes, leaving behind a profound exhaustion. And then a new sensation emerges, subtle at first, then growing stronger. The overwhelming dryness in your mouth and throat begins to ease. The metallic taste fades, replaced by a strange, tingling coolness that spreads through your parched tissues. The head pressure lessens. Your vision clears. You gasp. A deep, shuddering breath that finally feels like it's pulling cool, filtered air into your lungs, not fire. The relief is monumental, a wave of profound gratitude that brings tears to your stinging eyes. Your body, the same body that has endured freezing temperatures, crushing pressures, and airborne plagues, is doing it again. It's fighting, it's adapting. You manage a weak, shaky smile, looking at Cathar. Just a strong kick, Cathar. Nothing we haven't handled before. The flickering emergency lights, casting long, warped shadows across the twisted wreckage, paint the narrow corridor in an unsettling dance of dimness and distorted shapes. You and Cathar are navigating this choked artery of the ship, your boots crunching on pulverized composite and frozen debris, the steady hum of your makeshift air scrubber, a lonely comfort in the silence. Your eyes, honed by days of constant vigilance, catch it, a tiny, almost imperceptible glint of metallic reflection from a shadowy alcove to your left. It vanishes instantly, leaving behind an icy prickle of unease crawling up your spine. This isn't the ambient dread of the Deathworld. This feels deliberate. This feels watched. Your internal alarms, honed on 1,000,000 years of natural selection, scream a warning. This isn't the lumbering charge of a predator or the slow suffocation of the atmosphere. This feels like an ambush. You freeze, holding your breath, trying to pierce the gloom. The air, though filtered, still carries the faint, acrid scent of ozone and the damp, earthy smell of the alien moss now invading the ship's interior. "Did you see that, human?" Cathar's voice, a tense whisper over your comms, confirms your perception. Their multifaceted eyes, even in the dimness, are wide with alarm. A reflection from within the shadows. Before you can answer, a rapid, scuttering sound erupts from the alcove, too fast, too controlled to be mere falling debris. Then, a blur of motion, small, multi-limbed, moving with shocking speed and precision. It's low to the ground, no bigger than an earth badger, but it's not a brute. It's something far more chilling. In its primary forelimb, clutched tight, is a shard of jagged, polished ship plating, its edge gleaming wickedly even in the scant light. A blade. It launches itself at Cathar, clearly recognizing the more vulnerable target. Its intent is surgical, aimed at the exposed joints of the alien's suit. Your instincts, bypassing thought, take over. You let out a guttural roar, a purely human sound of aggression, and dive forward, shoving Cathar violently aside. They let out a surprised yelp, tumbling into a pile of wires. The creature redirects its attack with astonishing agility, its scavenged blade arcing towards your exposed neck, where your helmet meets your suit. The glint of that steel-like shard is terrifyingly close. You feel the whoosh of displaced air, the sudden raw cold against your skin as it barely misses, tearing a shallow gash across your shoulder guard. It's not just a scratch. It's a testament to its speed and accuracy. This thing isn't just an animal. It's a combatant. You recoil, twisting, bringing your multi-tool up instinctively. No time for precision. This is a street fight. You slam the heavy tool down, not at the creature itself, but at the floor, directly in front of it. The impact sends a shower of sparks and pulverized rock fragments flying, momentarily disorienting the agile attacker. It hisses, a high-pitched, furious sound, and scrambles back, its many limbs scrabbling against the metal deck. "Human! Its weapon! It uses tools!" Cathar shouts, their voice still shaky but now laced with a new kind of terror. Yeah, I noticed. You grunt, your eyes narrowed, tracking the creature as it phases back into the deeper shadows, a shimmering, dark silhouette. Your shoulder throbs, a dull ache beneath the torn suit, but you barely register it. The threat isn't just physical, it's psychological. This thing is intelligent enough to wield a weapon, to use the environment, to plan. This is a new level of problem. You adjust your grip on the multi-tool, switching it to a broader, blunt impact setting. This isn't a fight against brute force. It's a game of wits in a gaslit alley, where the shadows hide more than just monsters. They hide cunning, and humanity, more than any other species, knows a thing or two about fighting dirty in the dark. The silence that follows the creature's retreat is thicker, heavier than before, stretched taut, with an unspoken threat. You can practically feel its multi-limbed body pressed against the shadows, its scavenged blade gleaming, waiting for your next move. The air, already stale with recycled breath and the lingering scent of ozone, feels charged with expectation. Your torn shoulder throbs, a dull ache that serves as a constant reminder of its speed and precision. This isn't just a hunt, it's a standoff. An intelligent opponent demands an intelligent response. You and Cathar are pressed against a collapsed bulkhead, using its twisted metal as cover. Cathar's multifaceted eyes dart nervously between you and the dark alcove where the creature vanished. It's waiting, human. It understands tactics. It learns. Their voice is a hushed whisper over your comms, tight with suppressed fear. Good, you grunt, a grim smile playing on your lips. So do we. You scan the surrounding wreckage. Twisted girders, dangling wires, pulverized debris, and, most importantly, a heavy-duty power cable, thick as your arm, dangling precariously from the ceiling. A plan begins to form, crude and desperate, but undeniably human. You reach for your utility belt, pulling out a length of hardened climbing cord, one of the few pieces of non-alien gear you still possess. It feels rough, familiar, against your gloved fingers. You start working quickly, quietly, attaching one end of the cord to a heavy, jagged piece of ship plating, a makeshift anchor. What? What are you doing? Cathar whispers, their gaze fixed on your hands. Setting a trap, you reply, your eyes never leaving the shadowy alcove. This thing uses tools. It thinks it's smart. We're about to remind it who invented tools. You finish securing the anchor, then carefully tie the other end of the cord to the dangling power cable, creating a tripwire at shin height across the narrow corridor hidden just beneath a layer of debris. The cable itself, thick and heavy, becomes the free rope. The metallic tang of the bioaerosol still pricks at your throat, and your exhaustion is profound, but a sharp, focused energy surges through you. This is the defiance. This is the ingenuity. This is the pure, unadulterated stubbornness that humanity has always leveraged against overwhelming odds. You retreat back to Cathar, pulling them further behind the bulkhead. When it charges Cathar, you scream. You instruct, your voice low, commanding, loud, just like you did when you first saw it. Make it think you're vulnerable. Make it think I'm distracted protecting you. Cathar blinks, processing. A feint? To lure it into a snare? There's a dawning, horrified comprehension in their tone. That is a barbaric tactic, human. Deceptive. Unfair. You offer a wry, hard-edged smile. Welcome to Earth rules, buddy. Fair is for parades. You wait. The silence stretches, thick and suffocating, punctuated only by your ragged breathing and Cathar's nervous fidgeting. Your heart pounds, a steady, measured drum against your ribs. You can feel the creature's presence, the subtle shift in the air, the heavy weight of its unseen gaze. It's analyzing, it's planning its next move. Then, you make yours. You kick a loose piece of metal debris, sending it clattering loudly down the corridor, away from your trap. The sound echoes, drawing its attention. And it strikes. A frantic scuttering erupts from the shadows, faster than before, full of renewed aggression. The blur of its multi-limbed form streaks from the darkness, its scavenged blade glinting, arcing low for your legs. Ah! Cathar screams. A high-pitched, genuine shriek of terror, perfectly timed. The creature's attention flickers to Cathar, A fraction of a second of hesitation. That's all you need. It hits the tripwire. With a loud metallic tin's tooth do-teen whack-teen, the heavy power cable snaps taut, catching the creature mid-lunge. The groan begins low, a deep, resonant rumble that vibrates through the very ground beneath your boots, up your legs, and into your teeth. It's not the shudder of the crippled ship, nor the distant shriek of the wind, but something far more ancient, more immense. A primordial sound, like a sleeping giant stirring, a subterranean growl that makes the pulverized debris on the floor dance and shimmer. Your stomach lurches with a sudden, sickening sensation, a disorientation that feels like the world itself is tilting on its axis. You and Cathar are still deep within the ship's twisted corridors, meticulously scavenging for working parts for the ship's emergency beacon, a desperate, fading hope for rescue. Your multi-tool, now a Frankenstein's monster of salvaged components, hums with renewed life, but the energy cells are critically low. You need more power, and that means venturing further, deeper into the wreck, towards the unstable power core. The rumble escalates, a grinding, tearing sound that builds to a deafening crescendo. The emergency lights, already flickering, stutter and die, plunging the corridor into absolute darkness. Only the faint violet glow of a patch of tenacious alien moss on a nearby wall offers any light, casting long, writhing shadows that stretch and warp with the tremors. You instinctively drop to a crouch, hands splayed, trying to maintain balance as the floor pitches violently beneath you. What is happening, human? Cathar's voice is a high-pitched cry of pure terror over your comms, barely audible over the immense groaning. They're clinging to a fallen beam, their multifaceted eyes wide and panicked. The seismic monitors, they were only registering minor tremors. This is a planetary event. A tectonic shift. You don't need the monitors to tell you. You feel it in your bones. The ship groans in concert with the planet. Metal tearing, plating warping, bulkheads buckling. Dust and debris rain down, stinging your eyes, coating your visor. Your rebreather struggles, the air filter choking on the sudden deluge of particles. The sulfurous, earthy smell of the planet is now tinged with the acrid scent of stressed metal and ozone. A massive douse and douse and douse echoes through the ship, followed by a terrifying cascade of ripping metal and crumbling rock. A section of the corridor ahead collapses, sealing off your path, sending a fresh wave of shockwaves through the deck. The floor beneath your feet cracks, a deep, spiderwebbing fissure spreading rapidly, revealing glimpses of the glowing violet moss that thrives deep within the planet's crust. This isn't just an earthquake. This is the world tearing itself apart. Your instincts scream. Escape. Find cover. Get out. But there's nowhere to go. The ship is collapsing around you, and the planet itself is trying to swallow you whole. This isn't just a hostile environment. It's a living, breathing, dying entity, and you're caught in its final throes. Cathar, grab on, you yell, shoving yourself against a reinforced wall panel, trying to shield them as best you can. You feel the tremor intensifying, the ground bucking and heaving like a frantic beast. The pressure builds, a crushing weight that makes your ears pop, makes your teeth ache. This is the world's edge, and you're standing on it. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the most violent tremors subside. The deafening groan of the planet softens to a low, lingering rumble, like an aftershock that won't quite die. The emergency lights flicker back on, dim and intermittent, casting a stark, unsettling glow on the newly twisted wreckage, the fresh cracks in the bulkheads, the piles of rock and pulverized metal that now block every path. You pull Cathar closer, checking them over. They're shaking uncontrollably, whimpering softly. We are trapped, human, completely trapped. The primary and secondary exits both collapsed. There is no way out. Their voice is choked with despair. The burning in your gums is a dull, persistent ache, a throbbing pain that resonates with every pulse of your weary heart. Your tongue feels strange, rough, almost swollen, and when you run it over your teeth, you taste it, a faint, metallic tang, the unmistakable taste of Asterix's blood. It's a low-grade, insidious ache, far less dramatic than a fractured bone or a tearing muscle, but it whispers of a deeper, more profound failure within your own body. Your energy levels are plummeting, leaving you with a crushing fatigue that even the alien marrow can't fully combat. This isn't just hunger or cold anymore. This is the quiet, creeping despair of systemic deficiency. You and Cathar are still trapped, deeper than ever within the crippled ship, the recent seismic event having sealed off all known exits. Your multi-tool, now a jury-rigged marvel of desperation, is struggling to maintain a trickle of power, barely keeping your rebreathers and the air scrubber operational. The air, though filtered, feels heavy, stale, a constant reminder of your incarceration. Cathar, despite their own growing weakness, watches you with worried, multifaceted eyes. Human, your oral cavity appears inflamed. Cathar observes, their voice strained but concerned. And your energy expenditure rate has significantly increased, despite minimal activity. Your species requires certain micronutrients, yes? For cellular repair and metabolic function? You nod, a slow, heavy motion that makes your head ache. Vitamins. Specifically, vitamin C. Without it, the body starts breaking down. Scurvy. The word tastes bitter, a grim echo of ancient Earth mariners, trapped for months on open seas, succumbing to a slow, agonizing death from a lack of fresh fruit. The irony stings. You've survived apex predators, planetary cold snaps, airborne plagues, and sentient tools, only to be undone by a simple micronutrient deficiency. This world truly had a twisted sense of humor. Your stomach clenches, not with hunger, but with a profound weakness, a hollowness that even the alien marrow can't fill. Your limbs feel heavy, sluggish, each movement an effort. Your memory, usually sharp, flickers, making it hard to concentrate on the complex schematics of the ship's power conduits, trying to find a way to reroute energy. We need something green, you murmur, more to yourself than Cater, something fresh, something alive. Your eyes scan the dim, damaged corridor, the only signs of life being the tenacious, glowing violet moss clinging to the walls and cracks, or the occasional alien insectoid that scuttles by, drawn by your heat signature. The violet moss has been scanned extensively. Cathar states, their voice laced with a familiar resignation. Highly toxic. Ingesting it would be catastrophic. Catastrophic. Another word that means death in their language. But what about yours? Humans have found life in the most unlikely places. Your ancestors ate seaweed, strange berries, even the bark of trees when all else failed. There has to be something. A deep sigh escapes you, rattling in your chest. You rise, every muscle protesting, and make your way to a section of the corridor where the planet's tectonic shifts had created a fresh fissure. Through the crack, the faint, rust-colored light of the outside world filters in, illuminating a different kind of green, not the pulsating, toxic violet moss, but a smaller, almost translucent patch of plant-like growth, clinging to a damp rock face, glistening with condensation. It's tiny, no bigger than your thumb, a delicate, almost ethereal frond. Your multi-tool, with a last flicker of life, scans it. Unknown, low energy, possible irritants. It offers no hope, no salvation. But it's asterisk green. And it's alive. And a desperate primal instinct tells you that sometimes possible irritants are worth the gamble when certain death is the alternative. You carefully chip off a tiny piece, your fingers clumsy with weakness. The warmth is a slow, steady tide, seeping into your aching muscles, chasing the deep, bone-gnawing cold from your extremities. It's not the flickering, desperate heat of your makeshift exchanger, but a profound, embracing radiance that makes your stiff joints finally relax. A low, persistent hum, far more stable than anything you've heard in days, emanates from the salvaged power conduit you finally brought to life. You lean back against the reinforced wall of your now expanded shelter, feeling the heat bloom across your back, radiating through your suit. The metallic tang in the air has softened, replaced by a faint, almost comforting scent of warmed polymers and something subtly earthy, like damp, fresh soil. You take a deep breath, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, it doesn't burn. Your lungs expand fully, the raw soreness finally receding. The constant headache, a brutal companion for days, begins to ebb, leaving behind a profound, almost dizzying sense of relief. You feel your eyelids heavy, a desperate urge to simply close your eyes and surrender to this blessed reprieve. Cathar, now upright and moving with a tentative, almost graceful ease, sits opposite you, their multifaceted eyes fixed on the humming power conduit. Their suit, once tattered and failing, now shows signs of your meticulous repairs, holding the heat far more effectively. The alien marrow and the strange green frond, combined with this new, reliable warmth, have pulled them back from the brink. The energy flow is stable, human, Cathar states, their voice stronger, more resonant, though still tinged with awe. The thermal output consistent. You repurposed a primary core shunt to power a localized environmental generator. This is extraordinary. Our species would take weeks to reverse engineer such a system, even with full schematics. They look at you, and in their gaze you see not just wonder, but a dawning respect, tinged with something deeper. You offer a weary, lopsided smile, feeling the warmth of the salvaged power source against your face. Sometimes, Cathar, you just gotta break things to make them work better. Especially when the alternative is freezing to death. Your hand, no longer numb, flexes, feeling the familiar calluses on your palm. The air scrubber, now running off the more stable power, purrs softly, effortlessly neutralizing the lingering bioaerosol. You can finally take off your rebreather without your throat immediately burning. The taste of cool, clean air is like a luxury, a forgotten pleasure. You pull out the last portion of the alien marrow, now mixed with crushed particles of the green frond, offering it to Cathar. They accept it without hesitation, no longer fearing the unknown. The silence that settles between you isn't empty now, it's full. Full of the gentle hum of the power core, the steady purr of the air scrubber, the soft, contented sighs of Cathar. It's a silence woven with the subtle sounds of survival, of a precarious victory carved from the jaws of a world bent on your destruction. You watch Cathar eat, their movements more fluid, their color returning. You feel a pang of something akin to pride, not just for your own resilience, but for this shared moment, this unlikely alliance forged in the fires of a Deathworld. The planet still howls outside, the wind still screams its frigid threats, but here, in this small salvaged pocket of warmth, there's a fierce, undeniable light. This isn't just about making it to tomorrow. This is about making times today times count. About taking a piece of a dying ship, a hostile planet, and bending it to your will, not with force, but with ingenuity, stubbornness, and a little bit of shared humanity. Because on a world that offers nothing but cold, the fiercest warmth always comes from the fire you build together. And that, Cathar, is a lesson Earth taught us well. The throbbing in your bruised shoulder has finally dulled to a persistent ache, a familiar companion rather than a searing pain. You run a gloved finger over the patched tear in your suit, a crude but effective repair that still whispers of the near miss with the alien's scavenged blade. Your hands, calloused and scraped, tell their own story of desperate digging, brutal combat, and intricate repairs. Every muscle in your body hums with a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. But it's a good kind of tired, the kind that comes after days of pushing beyond what you thought possible. You feel alive, acutely aware of every scar, every ache, every triumph. You sit with Cathar, in the warm, stable glow of your jury-rigged shelter, the steady hum of the power core, and the soft purr of the air scrubber, a symphony of survival. Cathar, now fully recovered, moves with renewed energy, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the flickering emergency lights. They've seen things, experienced traumas that would send most of their species into irreversible shock. Yet here they are, alive, breathing, and looking at you with a profound, almost reverent awe. The distress signal is transmitting, human, Cathar announces, their voice resonating with a quiet triumph. It is weak, but stable. It will be picked up, eventually. They pause, then turn their full attention to you, their multi-jointed fingers gesturing slowly. You have endured so much. Injury, starvation, toxins, environmental extremes, and you have adapted to all of it. You improvised solutions from nothing. You fought, You built. You healed. You even found sustenance, where our biology indicated certain death. You shrug, a small, tired smile on your face. Just doing what needed to be done, Cathar. It's what we do back home. Cathar's gaze intensifies. But the cost, human, the physical toll. Your body bears the marks of this world, the bruises, the stiffness, the way you still flinch when the hull groans. Yet, you continue, without hesitation. Why? You look at your hands, at the faint tremor that still runs through them, at the scars that crisscross your knuckles. You think of the cold, the hunger, the fear, the moments when you thought it was truly over. You think of Earth, the storms, the famines, the wars, the sheer brutal beauty of a world that constantly tried to kill you, and somehow, always failed. Because the scars, Cathar, you say, your voice low, a little rough with emotion, the scars are how we remember. They're how we know we survived. They're proof that this world, as nasty as it is, couldn't break us. They're part of us now. You touch your bruised shoulder, then gesture around the makeshift shelter, to the functioning air scrubber, the powerful heat core. This whole place, it's covered in scars, from the crash, from the cold, from that tectonic shift. But look at it. It's still standing, it's still working. Cathar looks around the shelter, then back at you, a dawning comprehension in their eyes. So the trauma, it is not simply endured, it is integrated, made part of the being. You nod. It makes us tougher, smarter, more stubborn. It reminds us what we're capable of. And it makes us human. Every single one of them. The silence that follows is different now. It's not the terrifying void of space, nor the oppressive hush of a dying ship, but a comfortable shared understanding. Outside, the Deathworld still rages, its storms and threats continuing their relentless assault. But inside this small, human-built sanctuary, there's a quiet strength, a fierce resilience. You're not just surviving anymore, you're staunch living through it, bearing the marks, learning the lessons. Because the galaxy might call Earth a Deathworld, but it's more than that. It's a forge. And the scars it leaves? They're not just wounds, they're the very things that make us human.